Alrighty, we are back with you, and it is a lovely day to be in the garden.
It is. Let's get out there, Ken. Get this show over with, and then we'll be back in the garden.
Get in there and get to do some digging.
We love being here, actually. This is a good start to the weekend. Dan Bruce, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing well. I got wet yesterday, and I got wet again last night.
Oh, man, I'm loving this moisture. We need it so badly. The hills need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering what it was. I was driving down the road, and then I saw these little, I thought they were like rhinestones or something, and they appeared on my windshield at first, and then they just kind of disappeared.
It's really spooky when you're driving along, and all of a sudden rain starts to fall from the sky.
Yeah, I was a little shocked.
Well, we need it here in the Okanagan in particular, but even down the coast, they need their rain to build up the reserves. It's pretty serious. Anyway, Dan, before you get going, because I do want to hear what you have to say today, but could you just, I know this is silly on the air, but you know the two plants I got from you the other day, I got an agave. What's the name of that agave?
Okay, listen carefully.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Agave Victoria reginae. And that is, the Victoria reginae is hyphenated.
Okay.
And it's Queen Victoria's agave.
Wow, that's really cool, and it's a very different one. I love it.
Native of Mexico.
Yeah,
and it's now, I believe, on the endangered species list. But the plant that you ripped yours off of.
Excuse me.
I bought. That
I didn't think you were looking.
I have eyes. I have eyes. Don't worry. I bought that plant over 40 years ago in the Overweighty store in Princeton.
Wow. And that's on the endangered species list. Probably because overweight has been taken.
It wasn't then.
No,
it was not then. But anyway.
And the bulbs?
The bulbs, that was Hymenocallis.
Hymenocallis, okay.
Hymenocallis festalis. And it's a variety called Sulphur Queen.
Sulphur Queen. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that because I'd forgotten by the time I got home. You know how it is. I don't have the memory of a tomato plant, okay? This is what Ken says. You haven't got the memory of a tomato plant.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
it goes.
Boy, that's rough. What have you got up your sleeve today? We got about 5 minutes here.
Well, I just have to take my pick. You know, the hummingbirds have been back here for about 3 weeks, and as usual, what happens is you get a few show up, and they're what you might call overnighters because they're not around here. Those ones are heading further north.
Oh, they're on their way.
They're on their way, and they stop off, and they choke down a little bit of sugar and have a little bit of a rest, and then they're gone again. And then you have a few days where there's nothing happening at all, and then a few more show up. And but now I've got some of the permanent residents of this area are now back.
Now, they didn't live here over the winter, did they?
Oh, gosh, no.
No.
Occasionally, Anna's hummingbird does. And Anna's hummingbird can sometimes get itself into a bit of a problem if the winter turns nasty.
Yeah.
But they certainly have overwintered here before.
It's amazing how those hummingbirds, like, I can just see them on their way to wherever they're going up north. And what do you think? Hey, do you want to stop by Dan's place this year, or are we going to just carry on? Well, let's stop by Dan's place and have a few, because he always has stuff out for us.
Well, it might be something like that. Yes. Of course, the species of hummingbirds that go that far north, which is the rufous hummingbird, they depend much more on insects than a lot of the other species. So they, by going way up north, they have access to the insects, which are all over the place anyway. And it means that the daylight length up north is much, much longer than it would be in the tropics.
Right.
So they have that advantage. So you can imagine these birds down in Guatemala and Mexico sitting side by side and saying, well, we're going back to Alaska. this year, and you guys are staying here. That's fine. And the tropical ones say, well, why the hell are you flying all that way? You know, and
oh man!
But there are definite advantages to doing that. Things in nature don't waste their time.
No, they don't. You know, Dan, that's always a great thing talking. I love coming to your deck and seeing the masses of hummingbirds that are just enjoying your offerings there. It's great. I mean, they're buzzing around your head, and they're quite tame, actually, after a bit. You know, if you just relax and don't scare them, they're quite tame.
Well, I remember one occasion when my mother was still with us, and she was definitely alive and well. She was sort of leaning on the veranda rail, looking out, and a hummingbird came and perched on the rim of her glasses.
Oh, my goodness.
And it took her by surprise, but Mom was cool. She didn't move, and it sat there for, some time.
Isn't that neat? Your mom was such
father made a comment that she didn't approve of, and he said, well, it was just looking for gray nesting material.
There you go. Yeah, your mom and your dad were dear people. Look at Dan, we always appreciate your call, and we're going to move on. We've been talking about talking birds and tomatoes with memories. This show's going sideways. We're going to go. We're going to talk to you next week again, Dan. Take care.
Clean up your act.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay. I think we're getting close to a break, right? Grinder, nod your head or shake it. Yeah. Nod your head, Grinder. We're taking a break. Yeah, there we go. We're going to take a short break now. We'll be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, waiting in the lines, we have one of our favorite people who's been phoning in for decades to the Garden Show, and we appreciate it. Addie, good morning. You are a passionate gardener and a great pierogi maker.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
What can we do for you today?
I have a plant in the tip of the week.
Oh,
my plant is periwinkle, and my tip is do not plant it in your garden because it takes over your life.
There you go. Yeah. It's one of those want to be the only person in town plants.
Oh, no kidding. It is crazy. I'm going to be ripping so much of it off. Anyway, I found some early start or whatever, the fertilizer that you put into your, when you repot your plants. I found it in the shed, and it obviously froze over the winter. Is it still good?
Is this a granular fertilizer?
No, it's a liquid. It's
liquid?
The Miracle Grow early start. You say start something. I forget what it's called, but anyway.
But is it a powder that you mix with water?
No,
it's straight liquid.
No, it's a liquid.
Yeah,
it should be fine. I don't think it's going to break down those basic components like the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. I don't think it's going to break down. If it froze solid, it might have hurt the container. No, it didn't.
It didn't hurt the container.
I think you're good. You're good to go. Use it up.
Okay. Now, my other question is the plants that I'm bringing in and out of the house every night. Can I leave them outside, like the petunias and the just all those other plants that not the tomatoes and not the king tut, but like parsley and stuff like that? Can I leave it out overnight as long as it's not going down to zero?
You've sort of put a thing out there. Okay, parsley. You can harden off, and it can stay outside in this, even when it freezes us slightly. But it's got to be hardened off to that.
I'm hardened off for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, geraniums, fine. You can leave those out if they've been hardened off a little bit. My geraniums are left. I don't bring them in. The only thing I'm bringing back in are my tropical plants, and of course my coleus and my petunias. Anything that I put outside to kind of get a breath of fresh air outside the greenhouse. I bring, in the next couple of weeks, I'm watching the weather like a hawk. And if it's going to freeze, those petunias and coleus and things have to come back inside. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant and cucumbers and squash, those things don't want to stay out overnight at all. They want, 10 degrees?
Between around 8 degrees is a minimum.
Yeah.
But that being said, that they're just plants that don't like to be cold. They just don't like it. They don't like to be chilled. It's not frost is death to them, yes, but just being cold they don't like. Other than
the tomatoes, I can go down to, like, say, 3 overnight.
Yeah. And for petunias, they're usually okay down to about 5 or 3, 5, somewhere in that range. I know I forgot mine out one night, and it actually froze. But I guess they were up closer to the house a bit, so they didn't really freeze too much, and they all survived. So I was pretty happy with that. But I had them out for about a week prior to that. I just missed them that one time, and pretty lucky.
I've been hardening off my plants, and they're on the deck under a roof.
Oh, so, perfect. Yeah,
I think I can probably go to the 3, and because I'm just my back's getting real tired of carting them in and out. When you go to the greenery, you cannot walk out without buying $200 worth of plants.
Oh, you notice that? I got the same problem.
Yeah, that's what I did, and now I'm suffering for it. But however, I'm going to go the limit.
And you get good variety, good selection by being there early.
Yeah, you betcha.
That's just it. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, dear.
Love listening to you. Have a great week.
Good to hear from you. Take care.
Thanks,
bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Addie would be one that had the distracted driving problem too as she's driving down the road. She'd be very,
It happens.
Some people don't even think, but I'm telling you, it can be awfully dangerous looking at plants. So I transplanted Calibrachoa that I've rooted. Yep. You can root Calibrachoa so easy. Petunias root like a darn. Mm-hmm. They do. But tomatoes, of course, root really easily. Once you get, if you go out to the greenery or buy a nice sized tomato plant, you can root shoots off that so easily, and you buy one, you can end up with 5, easy.
Yeah,
so good. Well, not only are you saving a little bit of money, you are having some fun doing it. There's nothing more you can do in the garden. Now, just remember, Ken, next Saturday, we're celebrating National Nude Gardening Days.
Oh, right.
Yes. So, keep an eye open. Well, that could be distracting, too, I think.
Yeah. Many accidents would be happening.
That's right. Yeah. We've got Maureen joining us before the break here. Good morning, Maureen.
Oh, good morning. I got excited when you started talking, not the last thing you just talked about, but I got excited when I heard you talking about putting plants in and out, because I've been failing. I've planted a bunch of seeds and nothing came up. Well, the radishes finally came up, but the carrots just disappeared in the garden. I don't know. Maybe I planted.
They're slow. They're always slow.
Are they slow?
Yeah, very slow.
Just give it a little time. Okay. Yep. The main question I have is, I've been growing my dahlias inside now for probably about a month, and they're growing. Most of them are coming up.
Nice.
But some of them are getting too tall, and I think what I'm supposed to do. First, I was going to ask, is it still okay to put them out for the whole, I've been gradually putting them out on just really warm days.
And you're calling from Victoria, right?
No, Kelowna.
Oh, from Kelowna. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in the daytime, they're fine outside, and they do get long and lanky if they're not getting the sunshine.
Yeah.
But you can always, dahlias, you can always cut those back, and they'll push from the base again, too,
Well, what I did was the ones that, first of all, I had them in the basement. There was not enough light down there. It was ridiculous.
No, right.
So I brought them up, and they're looking much greener and better. And I did trim some, the center stem. So center stem, the 2 leaves are still there. But is that okay to keep doing that if they start to get too tall again?
Oh, yeah.
I've got a couple that are just shooting straight up instead of being bushy.
Yeah, and some varieties, they want to be very tall as well, but usually it's just the low light that they're going to stretch. But you still don't cut them too low. You can cut them down to about 12 inches.
I don't want to kill them,
No, and as long as you're cutting them, leaving some leafage at the base, they should just take off and grow again. And then that moving them in and out is good, and definitely preventing any frost for sure.
Are they okay at 8 degrees outside?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So it kind of makes them tougher, doesn't it?
Yep.
So we'll do that. And the other question is, how do you know if your rose is dead? Like I have about 5 roses. All of them don't look very lively, and there's just some greenery coming up from the base.
Are these hybrid teas?
They're rose shrubs mostly.
Shrub roses?
They might be okay. We're seeing a lot of the roses are dead down to about maybe 4 inches or so. So what I look for is the actual canes, and I follow. You'll see it's either brown or black, and it goes down, and you can see it's dead. And then all of a sudden, right at the ground level, which may have been protected by snow, right? And that very bottom bit, you might see a little bit of green, and then you want to. Ideally, the shoots are coming from above the ground, or around where it touches the ground.
I'll take a good look.
But remember, there's lots of roses that are grown on their own roots as well, and that means that anything that shoots up can be that exact variety. So sometimes you have to wait it out and see what shoots up. And
Tip of the week.
Watch for the bloom to see what it looks like.
Should I be fertilizing them right now? Maybe that'll help.
Sure. Well, a little bit's always good. I would say that the tip would be, moving forward with all roses is in the fall. It's to mulch them, with a nice like in the Okanagan we have like Nature's Gold, or we have Ogle Grower, that sort of thing, where we can mound it up over between 12 and 18 inches thick. So the more you protect, all that stuff that's under the mulch would still be green and be happy right now.
Oh, so, I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
so you practically you don't cover them because you don't trim them until the end till March.
Yeah,
right?
and the trimming is almost irrelevant when it comes to these cold winters. You just want something to be alive. And then you cut off all the dead stuff, and then they shoot up from those green stems.
Okay, because the stems were actually pitch black, some of them.
Yeah.
Those ones were probably dead, right? So,
yeah, they would.
Anyway, okay, I'll remember that tip for the fall is to get lots and lots of mulch on there for next year. Okay, thank you for your help. I'm going to go put my dahlias outside now.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Happy gardening.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Grinders, we're going to answer this quick question because we only got a minute or so. Okay.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good. I'm panicking listening to you about the dahlias. Mine are starting to show growth, and they're actually been outside for a while.
Well,
so
that's okay.
Should I not leave them outside?
Well, watch the weather. I mean, if they don't mind going right down to 2, 3, 4 above, but when your temperature says it's going to be 2, 3, 4 above, the chances of it freezing are there too. So you want to really watch the weather. I mean, if the Weather Channel says it's going to go down to 5, you're okay. But if anything below that, you might want to bring them back in.
So could they be brought in undercover? Or do you want them right in, like, the grass?
Well, if you want them to grow, like if you want them to get going early, you need to keep them warm. So that's where
so I'll put them in the garage at least.
Yeah, in front of the window. And even in the daytime, if it's a cool day, just keep them inside. And they much appreciate being warm rather than cold. Because when it's cold, they don't do much.
Okay, so they actually survived very well over the winter. And I just planted the whole plot. Now, once it starts growing, I want to put it in the ground, can I then separate it?
Yep, you can. We're going to have to leave you, though, because we got to take this break. Appreciate the call. Thanks you.
For calling.
And we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of The Garden Show after this short break. There we are. We're back again for the second half of the show, and we're here every Saturday morning, and we're speaking now to Victoria, the folks in Victoria, which we love to talk to, because they've given us a whole new, we in the Okanagan are in this dry part of the province, and a little chillier in the wintertime. Victoria is the Garden of Eden. It's a beautiful
it's quite
spot.
Different than
but
Penticton as well. In Penticton,
Penticton now
tuning in.
Penticton, we kind of
fabulous. Yeah, we have very similar climate to Penticton. They might be just a smidgen warmer than we are here in Kelowna, but similar climates and alkaline soil conditions. So. But it is really great to have just the wide scope of different types of plants to chat about, and it's fun. It's great.
One thing Penticton has, and I gotta recommend this to anybody in Kelowna and Victoria. Penticton people know about it. The Sycamoose. What a historical boat that is. Yeah. Ship or boat or whatever. I guess a boat. It's not a rowboat. It's a big steamship, and I've been on it a few times. But one time we were at a wedding there, and I went down below and saw the big steam engine boilers and all that stuff. Oh my goodness!
Cool, eh?
Oh,
did they give tours of that, or
I think so. I think so.
You just disappeared in the middle of the dance, and
haven't
seen Don for 2 hours. Oh, he's down. I don't know where he is, and then all of a sudden you poke your head up from a hole in the floor. And
well, it's a personal thing for me too, because my mother and her family in 1937 came down the lake from the head of the lakes there on the Sycamoose,
right.
And my Uncle Harold remembered standing at the bow, just like on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm the king of the ocean or whatever, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I'm so glad they preserved it, because it could have been just junked. Like a lot of the boats, like the Okanagan and some other steamships they're gone. Whereas the Sycamoose is still there. The only thing missing, of course, on the Sycamoose is the one floor, the one level. As the Sycamoose in the Okanagan became a little bit redundant, a little bit, not
mean when
used
they
as much.
built the bridge?
Well, no. I'll tell you what happened. The Sycamoose became obsolete because of the rail coming down. In the 30s, they built the rail down into Kelowna. And so once the rail came into Kelowna, and then the Kettle Valley coming into Penticton, and they used to barge the rail cars up from Kelowna up to Summerland and Penticton, right? Yeah. And so then all of a sudden now the Sycamoose became a little bit not used as much, so they took one whole floor off it, one whole deck, one whole level. So now it's missing one deck of the original boat, which is a sad thing, but putting a new deck on would be about $5 million, so they're not going to do that. Anyway, it doesn't float. It's just sitting there on the beach, but what a beautiful thing.
What happened to the Fintry Queen? Like that was
well, the Fintry Queen is up there, too. Now, the Fintry Queen is an old ferry.
It's a ferry, yeah.
It was a ferry. And, I hope it is resurrected and got out there, too. It's the only large boat that floats still, that's registered to float on the lake, the largest vessel on the lake, and I think that somehow it should be preserved. It's up for sale right now, and hopefully some enterprising entrepreneur is able to convince some of the communities along the lake to put a little bit of a dock there so that the Fintry Queen can go up and down the lake. I think it'd be a fabulous thing.
Well, it's great for special events, and even when I got married, we took people on a cruise on the Fintry Queen. We went down the lake and back, and it was fabulous.
Riverboat Queen sounds like Proud Mary.
It does. I think
250-862-2525 to give us a call if you're in the Okanagan here. If you are in Victoria, 1-888-780-4273 is our number to get through to us. And Ken and I are here happy to answer your gardening questions. And we just discuss stuff all the time, including events that are coming up. The Flower Power Garden Tour is coming up on June 15th, which is relatively close, month and a half or so, with 9 exceptional gardens. And also the Kelowna Garden Club annual plant sale is at Gushigan Gardens on May 4th at 9 a.m. And there's lots more information we can give out about that.
Sorry, I was just going to mention about Oxa, because they've got their date is the 11th of May.
11th of May.
And that, I believe, is usually down at the Un-H2O Garden, which is down on Gordon there. And, they're going to be having a great sale there. I talked to Judy briefly, and she sent me some more information about that. So we'll be talking about that as we go along in the next couple of weeks.
And everybody should be aware of our water concerns this year. And I think that what we need to do is gradually take some of our gardens and get them to be xeriscape oriented.
Yeah.
We've got a good buddy phoning in here. Charlie Hodge is on line 1. Good morning, Charlie.
Hey, Donnie, how are you, bud?
We are well. We're well.
Good. Yeah. I'm only calling because you mentioned the sycamoose.
Yes.
And I have to remind you, you have another connection to the sycamoose.
That's right.
And that is that my mother used to work with that sycamoose, as did I, when she was also working at Burnett's greenhouse.
Yeah.
And so the story is that the museum used to be on the SS Sycamoose, which was my grandfather's museum, moved out of the house and into the boat, because that was the first museum at Penticton. Yeah. And so I just thought I'd give you that reminder that Sycamoose was also a museum for the longest time.
Yes.
And the greatest place in the world for a kid to grow up like I did, sleeping in the deck.
Yeah, Charlie, when I was at a wedding there 2 or 3 years ago, I thought I was on the Titanic.
Yeah.
You got the staircase, you got all that stuff in miniature, of course, but it was the same era, and what a wonderful ship. I'm so glad they preserved it. We have to keep that in mind with our historical heritage stuff too.
Right.
Don't just rip and tear and throw out.
No. And so when I heard you mention the Sycamoose in your memories, I thought, well, he's forgotten one day. That probably didn't remember that, your connection with my mom. Yeah. And that Sycamoose is just another one of those gem memories.
Oh, you betcha,
man.
Man.
For what it's worth. I'll let you go. Love your
you
show.
Betcha. Go Canucks.
Talk to you later. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, no, that's right. Doris Hodge, Charlie's mom, dear mom, was an employee of ours for years, but she was that connection. Her grandfather I believe it was a grandfather, had a very, very close connection to the sycamoose. Mm-hmm. We have another caller here, and we've got time to do that, and that is Pam. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey.
I just got back from Saskatoon yesterday, and wow, am I ever celebrating all the green leaves that we have. They're getting there, but they're not quite there yet.
How's Saskatoon for green leaves right now? They must be coming on.
They're coming. Their grass is starting to, apparently they had snow last week.
Okay.
So that was a bit of a damper. Yeah. I tell you, the temperature actually was warmer yesterday in Saskatoon when I left than it was when I got to Kelowna. So they are not in the boonies. They're just prairies, and it's coming along. And what a beautiful city. I think I got to go when it's in the growing season, the height of it, because it's got to be even better. But, walking on that river was pretty amazing. But anyways, I wanted to say I appreciate all the discussions you're having about dahlias today, and I am so thrilled that I have started 3 pots of tubers. I've never done this before, so for me this is a new thing. And I bought these tubers at CD Sunday, and I don't remember the grower that supplied them, but they had the sweetest bags of dahlia tubers. Each one had its sort of calling card, a photograph and the name of the type of dahlia. But then they had a bin of mystery tubers.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, they had the best little marketing hook that said, "Take a chance on me." Like the song from ABBA.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't not buy a mystery tuber. I got to take a chance on you. I don't know what you're going to be, but we're going to see together,
Isn't that fun?
And do you know that of the 3 pots I have right now, that mystery tuber is 5 times the size, height-wise. So I don't know where it's going, but it looks amazing.
It's anxious to show off to you, Pam, because it said, I'm going to show you something special.
I think it's kind of like an SPCA puppy. It could be a real winner because nobody else wanted it. So good.
That's what I was thinking.
Hey, just real quick, I also wanted to give a shout-out to all the sponsors of the Hands and Service Living Salad Project. Yes. That's coming up on May 8th. We'll be assembling 450 container planters, and we're super excited. Helen's Acres is hosting us. We're so appreciative of the space because it's really inspiring and lovely to bring the volunteers there. Rona has supplied all the soil. The Rotary Rona supplied a good price on the soil. The Rotary Club of Kelowna supplied the funds to buy the soil. Blue Skies Orchards in Lake Country supplies our marigolds that are super good. The greenery up on the hill there gives us the red robin tomato plants that love growing in containers. Our Naps is good for lettuce. Painter's Market comes in with chives and parsley and kale. And we are just so grateful for Pathways, for their volunteers, our independent volunteers in the community. And we're just excited to get these planters out there to help mentor families, kids and families that don't know how to grow. Seniors Outreach has got a bunch of people that are getting them. The pregnancy center is getting a bunch of planters. So it's really touching so many different demographics in our community. So
you're doing a wonderful job. Wonderful job, Pam. And boy, has it grown. Just before we got to take a break here, but just before we go, the first year you did this, a number of years ago, how many planters did you do?
12 years ago, we did 35 planters.
Yeah, and now it's
450.
450. Wow. Pam, congratulations, and what wonderful work. And the folks are having a ball with it. You betcha.
Glad to share. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you, Pam. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of The Garden Show after this short break. Well, spending a little time down at the coast this year, a couple of trips down there with the blossoms and things that are going, the camellias are out, the rhododendrons are starting to show off really well, and of course the beautiful flowering cherries, the various varieties. The last time we were there was a really big, fat, double flowering cherry there. We're now starting in the Okanagan. We're starting to see some color too. And one of the big blasts that I really miss that we used to have a lot of, and that is the crabs, the flowering crabs. There was a big program back in the 80s to remove as many flowering crabs as they could. They offered people a new tree. If you'd remove your flowering crab, and the reason we were doing that was because the flowering crab is a host to the codling moth, which is a very, very serious pest with the apple industry and the pear industry. And so that was the deal. Reduce the number of flowering crabs in the environment, so that you won't have those hosts around. So when they introduce the sterile insects out there, that's not going to be as big a factor. But there's still a few flowering crabs around, and boy, are they showing off right now.
Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah, there's so many good varieties. I remember one called Radiant that was a nice one.
Radiant
crab, and Ectomire. Remember that one? That was a fully double, beautiful. There's still one of those just down by the Kelowna Hospital.
Yep.
It's just across the street and down about 3 blocks, right on the corner. It has a real ascending branch habit.
I know. It's a beauty.
Upright.
I've taken pictures of it since it was a baby.
It's a gorgeous tree,
Yeah,
so the fully double flowering crab. But if you do have these types of trees, you're supposed to take care of them, make sure you're spraying as needed. Again, because we're in a fruit production valley, we still have to manage our insect pests on our fruit trees, even if they're only ornamental.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're not promoting bad guys to escape out into the orchards.
You bet. We've got Teresa joining us. Good morning, Teresa.
Thank you for taking my call. My question is, remember, I think it was last week, a guy phoned in and said that he bought some tomato plants called Burpee something, and that they tasted so good and this and that. It's those little ones.
Yeah, Burpee, Napa.
I didn't get the name.
Napa, N-A-P-P-A, Napa, or maybe it's N-A-P-A.
Napa?
Napa, like as in Napa Valley in California. Napa. Yeah. Now, I've tried, I got 2 years ago, I bought these at Home Depot. And just out of curiosity, there's a nice little grape. It's a grape tomato, and it was the best one we've ever had. I've never had a grape tomato so beautiful. So last year we looked and looked and looked, couldn't find it. This year again, I looked and looked and looked, but it's a Burpee variety. So we can probably buy them right from Burpees, buy the seed from Burpees, and there's still time. If you got the seed in, you can still grow it. It's called Napa, Teresa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I was there last week and I looked for them as well. And there was Burpee tomato plants, but
lots
not this Napa.
That's right.
So I wondered, what the heck's going on? Maybe I had the wrong name or something.
Yeah, no, Burpee Napa tomatoes. And I just haven't, I looked so hard last year at Home Depot because they got all the Burpee stuff there, but they obviously, they're...
They got the seed online.
You could probably buy them online. So I'm going to check into that. And if they do, I might even get some in myself, some seed in, and see if I can't get some plants going. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, dear.
You and have a good day.
You as well.
Too.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Ken, I sent you that link to my cousin Ross McLeod's favorite seed house in Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah.
And he buys from them every year.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The selection of
of stuff is crazy.
And just all kinds of things, but tomatoes particularly. You're going to get everybody excited about it. There's nothing wrong with supporting Ukraine, that's for sure.
No.
But yeah, that is amazing. And that one variety I'm looking for wasn't in there. But do you still have the name of that? I
don't. That's the.
It's a guess. You told me the name last year.
Yeah, Ross has collected some seeds from his plants last year, and he thinks he's got the right one. So I've got them planted. We'll see. Time will tell.
That might get some cuttings off of that one.
Oh yeah. No, it was an amazing, tasty tomato.
Yeah, those really cool varieties. A lot of different cherry tomatoes, that sort of thing.
Well, what we'll do is
to try.
Next January we'll get together, you and I.
Yep.
And we'll place an order with this company in Ukraine.
Yep.
And bring a bunch of stuff in and just have some fun with it.
Yeah, and it's not actually too late now. I don't know how long it would take to get here. Probably a couple of weeks. But I think it would be still fun to try because you can plant seeds right now for tomatoes and they'll still be good to go around the end of the month, around the end of May or so, which is about right anyway. So good to go.
The Redbuds are coming out as well too here. Yep. That's a really cool plant. The Eastern Redbud, the Cercis canadensis, now I believe they're subject a little bit to verticillium, aren't they?
They are actually quite a bit. Yeah. They're one of the ones that's more susceptible than even like Japanese maples, that sort of thing, which are quite susceptible.
Yeah.
It's a little touchy.
Yeah.
But it's just luck of the draw sometimes. But because that's a soil-borne disease, the verticillium wilt is quite common here in the Okanagan for some reason. And I think it's because the old orchards, certain types of trees like peaches and apricots, nectarines, and plums, even all those, stone fruits would, potentially be susceptible to verticillium. And so over the years, the entire valley was orchards. And then when they started, developing, and they would go scrape the soil off and sell it to the soil guys.
There you go.
The soil guys would distribute it all over the valley and use it as soil, topsoil, and not knowing that it's full of this verticillium fungus, which kills certain types of trees. So now here we are years later, and we're suffering from time to time with that particular disease.
And you've often said too, there's at least 2 types of verticillium, possibly more.
Yeah, there's multiple types of verticillium. Some of them very slow acting, which is if you get this symptom where half the tree sort of dies and the other half seems fine. Affects Japanese maples, but definitely the one is really aggressive. It just kills the tree like within a matter of a month or two, and the other one you can actually have it for years, and it just gradually causes problems. And sometimes they recover from it. And our usage of using aspirins on those trees has proven some reality for sure. It has helped.
Got to go to the phone lines here, Ken, and John is joined us. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you today?
We are well, and you,
good.
I hope, are well too. You sound well.
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. For an old man.
Yeah, there you go.
I started my tomatoes early, and they're starting to flower. I'm thinking of putting them in now. I'll try to protect them maybe if I think it's going to get too cold. But what do you think?
Well, I wouldn't. The reason being is that the soil temperature hasn't warmed up, and they're just going to sit there crying the blues. Your best bet is to put them out in the daytime on a nice warm day in a pot, and bring them in at night, keep them cuddly warm at night, and then eventually get them out. But the farmers, we talked to the farmers over the years, and they said they would never put their tomatoes out, and they know what they're doing. They'd never put their tomatoes out before the 24th of May, and they always have good production. The tomatoes are happy. When you get a tomato kind of shivering at night, possibly things inside the tomato plant. Well, they do have memories now, as Ken says.
Yeah, if they survive it, then they'll remember, and maybe make them actually produce more down the line. But it's the stress, They just don't. They're not producing. The minimum temperature to get tomatoes like up and going is about 14 degrees Celsius, so it's way up there. And so when we're at night right now, I mean, we're down to almost freezing at night, maybe plus 3 or 4 or something, but that's too cold for
They're
tomatoes.
a tropical plant is what they are.
Yeah.
Trouble is mine are starting to flower. I just...
Yeah. Mine have fruit on them already. They're fruiting, but they're just, I got a little grow light, and I put them by the window, and I talk to them every day. Sometimes I set them outside, but it is, I'm just bringing them in. Most nights.
Yeah, they really do. They are susceptible to chilly weather. Other things can go out, of course. Your lettuce and broccoli and Brussels sprouts.
Your bare bottom trick works. That works.
Yeah. We often say when somebody says, when is it safe to put the plants out? My old friend Ruth Rushton said her grandfather told her, when the ground feels comfortable to the bare bottom, then you can put your plants out. Now, I don't know. It's nude gardening day next Saturday, so you can try it. I don't know.
Yeah, I got 20-something plants. I'm growing Roma Grandes.
Oh, right on.
And they're great. We do salsa, and I love them.
Maybe you should try a couple and just try.
Well, that's it too.
Try 2 or 3 of them out there for now and see how they do, and try protecting them at night. Maybe a little bag over them or something, and then just see what the difference is later on. If maybe it is an advantage.
John, you can do that little experiment. See, put some out early and see how they do compared to what you put out later, and get back to us.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing is my cherry tree blossoms. My cherry tree was covered, right? Mm-hmm. But I am not seeing, only the odd bee. I just, I don't know. I've talked to friends and they say, "Oh, we got bees," but I don't know why.
Where are you located, John?
I'm in Peachland. Just above the IGA. They're not very far. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the bees are important, but there's not only the bees that pollinate. There's a lot of pollinators out there. We always think of the bees as the only thing that pollinates, but there's a lot of little tiny wasps, and there's all sorts of things that go around and pollinate too. So you're not totally out of the bush,
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Yep.
I started dahlias. I like to call them dahlias. I've always called them.
Well,
dahlias.
of course, yeah. We in Canada call them dahlias. Down in the States, they call them dahlias.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but this is the first time I've tried that, and they are. I watched a few videos and cut the part of the eye out, and they're doing great. They're
good for you.
They're up and going. So
Good
this is the
for
first
you.
time. So
always fun,
anyway,
John. Appreciate.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate the call.
Have a great day.
You as well, sir.
You too, John.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
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 And on that note, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a short break. We do invite your calls, 250-862-2525 if you're locally here, 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling in from Victoria or anywhere online. We'll be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Here we are, back with you on the Garden Show. Ken Salvail, Don Burnett here with you. We've got Barbara joining us. Good morning, Barbara.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion. My husband, he collected over the years the big water containers.
Oh, yeah.
He cuts the bottom out.
Yes.
Puts them over the plants and just puts some plastic in the top that they don't freeze.
Oh, yeah. So like the big 5-gallon water jugs?
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
So he's cut the bottom out.
He cuts the bottom out, puts them over the plants, and people wonder, what the heck is he doing there?
Now, it doesn't get too hot in the daytime on a hot, sunny day.
He takes it off.
Takes them off,
and
of
then,
course.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Makes
Good,
sense.
good
So
idea.
that
It's like
works.
putting them in a cold frame.
Yes.
Wonderful suggestion, Barbara, and we appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, dear.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thanks for
bye-bye
calling.
now.
Yeah, good
And that's
tip.
good. Ken and I learn more on this garden show than you guys do, I tell
It's
you.
surprising the number of things that you can do
Oh,
to protect your plants. The little snow caps, that some people use.
Yeah, they were so small, though. The little,
They were
little
like for
hot
little,
caps, they were
little
called,
seedlings,
yeah.
yeah.
But do you remember
those
that wall of water?
water
Yeah, the wall of
towers.
water. Yeah, there you go.
they were cool.
Eric is joining us. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Ken Don. How's it going today?
Good.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. I sent you an email regarding my peach tree.
Yeah.
It's alive.
It lives.
Oh, really? Did you take a picture and send it to me?
I did. I just sent it to you.
Oh, just send it to me. Okay, well, I'll have a quick look here and just see. Eric, here we go. And
yeah,
it's alive. Yeah, that's good. Good for you, Eric. Now, as time goes on, you can clip out those little dead pieces, but yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. I looked at it. Oh, it's got some buds on there. All of a sudden, it's getting bigger and green.
Yeah.
I thought,
No blooms, but that's typical of this year. You can cut out that base stuff a little bit. Yeah, very good. Appreciate it.
You just never know what's going to happen.
You
leave it
just
in
don't
there.
know. That was Ken's tip of the week. Be patient.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great talking to you guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's always fun to have people reporting back on things that they've had issues with or whatever, or successes. Because like I say, Ken and I have learned so much just being here every Saturday morning on the Garden Show. It's been well. We're always learning. We're always being distracted driving. We are, that's what we do.
That's what we do. That's it.
Yeah.
And study regularly too.
The 2024 Kelowna Garden Club the plant sale is on at Gooshigan Gardens, and it is one of the annual things that I love going to. It's Saturday, May the 4th, which is a couple of weeks from now, 2024, starting at 9 a.m. at the Gooshigan Heritage Park, 1060 Cameron Avenue in Kelowna. And well, that's one of the nice. The Abkhazi garden sale today would be great too because you're walking through gardens.
Yeah.
But the Kelowna Garden Club does it at the Gooshigan Gardens, and right now the Gooshigan Gardens are exploding in blossom.
Yeah,
they're exploding.
Beautiful.
So even if you go and just say hello to the people at the garden club and just see if there's something you like and might want to buy something, just the fact you get into the Gooshigan Gardens and have a look around. Now that is happening on May the 4th, not this weekend.
Yeah, and also on that same day, of course, the Friends of the Garden out in Summerland Research Station, the big gardens out there are also having their sale. which I think it runs both Saturday and Sunday. And but yeah, it's great gardens out there. It's huge, and one of these places you have to visit, so you can participate in both. That's what I recommend.
Well, sure.
Next weekend,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And of course, the Oxa one is coming up too.
Oxa plant sales coming up on the 11th. Yeah. And that's going to be a good one. That's all your drought-tolerant stuff. But it's not just that. It has there's going to be master gardeners there, and there'll be all kinds of experts on hand. We'll be talking about water conservation techniques and the different types of plants you can use. And and I think it'll be down there at the H2O Center or Un-H2O Gardens, they call it. And it's a great spot, and it's going to be fun.
Well,
no, I'm wrong about that. It's not there this year. This year, it's at the Wild Bloom Nursery, which is out on Old Vernon Road.
That's right.
So I'm wrong about that. I stand corrected. We definitely want to get out there, and that's cool because they actually have a nursery there, and there's great opportunities for some special plants and stuff. Yeah, you bet.
Ken, we are talking about a year coming up, a season coming up here, which is very critical with our water. In fact, you mentioned the fact that you can upgrade your watering system to a much more efficient system. Yeah. And the folks like yourselves that do irrigation are right there able to help people do just that. Now, I need help too, so keep me on the list because
yeah, you bet.
When we turn on our sprinklers, there's a lot of water running down the street.
That happens.
Not a good thing.
No.
You want to have, and I think the what do they call that half-inch thing with the
inline drip?
Inline drip.
It has different names. It's called Tech Line is one name, or Ram Tubing.
Ram Tubing. Yeah,
Ram Tubing. Different companies had their own sort of slang for them, but it's typically they would have a drip built inside the tube about every 12 inches.
Right. And how far apart would you, say just a typical bed that has, shrubs and some perennials and things like that. Like you put those about 2 feet apart?
Yeah, about 2 feet apart. Yeah, that's about
and
right.
And that penetrates enough to soak the ground up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't spread water out over it, and it doesn't put it into the atmosphere where it's evaporating into the air.
It drops it straight into the soil, yeah. And it also, those products eliminate the use of those spaghetti tubes, which were, you can still use spaghetti tubes, and it's a common thing. It happens, but it's a better way to water than spaghetti tubes, because a spaghetti tube is only going to give you 1 drip per plant or something, or 2 drips per plant, so it makes 2 little wet spots. It does not work for trees or big shrubs, that sort of thing. Whereas if you're planting a landscape and you can do this grid effect where you're just literally 2 feet apart over the entire bed, when that system runs, it soaks the entire bed, which creates a reservoir. So the plants, as you and I know, the roots tend to grow horizontally out of those plants, and they'll find that water. And underground, you're getting quite a bit of width on that, and like I say, it's like a reservoir storing water for longer periods of time. So and
then mulching, of course,
mulching on the surface,
the moisture,
prevents the water from
evaporating. Yeah.
But the worst thing you can do is shoot it up into the air, and because then it evaporates really quick. But that happens when you have say lawns, that sort of thing. There really isn't. You can do like what's called sub-irrigation for lawns.
I remember that. We used to sell it.
You need to be one of the rich and famous to afford that, though.
Okay.
I think, So small areas can be thousands of dollars to do. And I mean small, like, 100.
And you pretty well have to do that when you're installing the lawn, right? You can't do that after. Pretty hard to do after.
Yeah, it's got to be they're inputting at 10 to 12 inches apart at about 6 inches deep and throughout the entire surface of the area. And because they've come a long way learning about that sub-irrigation, is that some of the older systems, they were quite a bit less expensive, actually. They found they just didn't work really well over time. So now they have newer systems that have, they actually have cloth attached to these drip lines.
Okay.
So the cloth reaches out and it sort of touches each of the drip lines. So it's like almost like a mat that will end up underneath the entire lawn. And that's what they use in areas like in Las Vegas and in Arizona, places like that, where that's the only system they're allowed to use.
The system we used to sell, now I don't know whether it was before you came on board with us or what, but we did for a whole 2 seasons or so try and sell this stuff. But it was a little difficult to sell because people were concerned it was going to cut, if they dig in the lawn or whatever, or aerate the lawn, and But this was like miniature soaker hoses. You know the sweating kind of soaker hose that had that material that is sweated through.
Yeah, those are the problem with those. The roots grow right through them so fast.
There you go.
So, but the other system, like I say, this system now, it's got to be at least 6 inches deep. Most lawn aeration is only 1.5 inches deep. It's not very deep. That's one of my pet peeves, is that they don't make aerators that are deep enough unless you go to industrial grade stuff where it's like 3 inches or so, 4 inches. But it's one of these things. That's what you're trying to avoid. You don't want to put in, say, $2,000-$3,000 or $10,000 worth of irrigation tubes and then have somebody come along with their aerator and just blast it all into chunks.
Exactly.
That would be a bad
Ken, we're going to take the last break of the day.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll have time to answer your questions. Please give us a call. We always enjoy your calls. And we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, since I built my greenhouse in 2017, I've been doing what I call my temperature and weather log every day, my documenting every day what's going on. I bet you in those years since 2017, I might have when we were away in England and when we were in Australia and we were away for any length of time, it's kind of hard to get somebody to come in and do this for me. So periodically, there's been a little bit of time that hasn't been documented. But other than that, I've documented every week. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was a young teenager, I was going with a gal in town here, and she took me over to see her grandfather because he had an old car, an old Chevy 25 Chevy car that I wanted to see. And Sheila introduced me to this Mr. Brown, his name was. And he did exactly what I'm doing. He's an old man doing this, documenting the weather every day. And now I'm an old man documenting the weather every day. It's so much fun. But anyway, it's kind of fun to look back and then look back last year, what was going on.
Yeah.
The difference this year is I put the precipitation down, snow and rain. This year, I don't think I took the snow off my sidewalks more than once or twice.
Since last fall.
I mean, there was so little snow, and it worried me right from day one. We need the snowpack.
Literally no rain, and we got a tiny bit of rain last night and the night before, but it's measured in millimeters, and if a half an inch of rainfall, water's about 4 inches deep. There's no way it would have to rain like that for a month to get a half an inch of water every day. It's just not. We're just not getting.
Ken, I'm serious. I'm really into this thing where we're going to revamp our sprinkler system, and it's easy to do because the lines are out to that bed. That front bed, I've got a huge area that's got Prince of Wales juniper, that low-growing, flat Prince of Wales juniper, which I love, but it needs no water, and it's got a sprinkler going on it that's watering it along with everything else. So if we revamp it, redo it, that trickle line is just going to go around the Japanese maple, around through the.
You can throw one across underneath the juniper if you want.
No,
it just gives it a little.
Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. It'll get, because it's sloped down a little bit to the juniper. It's going to get that ambient moisture anyway.
And this is the thing that I think with a lot of people don't realize is that older plants, once they're mature and established, they don't take much water. It doesn't matter the species. Like even cedars and stuff like that. I know there's cedars on properties that have not had water for 30 years because they're just abandoned properties. But the cedars are still there and they're still growing and doing their thing. Some of them are ugly, some of them are nice. But those are ones to monitor, and to see, because once plants are old, the root systems are huge and they can find this little bit of water that might trickle by. And so just remember that when you have old shrubs on your property, don't waste water watering them because they'll often survive quite well. But the newly planted stuff, you have to water it regularly to keep that stuff alive. So that's a real important distinction, and that's where it becomes difficult for some people when you have a mature landscape and you just want to add 2 plants. Those 2 plants are the ones you got to water. The rest of them are fine. Yeah. Like if you watered them maybe once every week or 2, it'd probably be adequate. Yeah. The only issue with that is here in the Okanagan is that things get drier and drier and drier, as we talked about. To effectively water, you have to water lightly multiple times to get it to start to take into the soil because it's just like dust. It's like powder. It won't absorb the water. So this, multiple light waterings until it actually starts to take, and then maybe a good soaking, and then you don't have to do that again for quite some time.
And that's all in that Xeriscape principles, too.
Yes,
People that buy drought-tolerant plants, and they plunk them out in the garden, and they don't water them because they're drought-tolerant. Well, they all die.
Yeah, they're not drought-tolerant until they're established, which is 6 weeks.
Exactly.
Or so,
but I do recommend to folks that it's scary to think to rip everything out and just change the whole garden into some drought-tolerant Xeriscape-type landscaping. But if you do it bit by bit and do a section, do an area, so where you can get rid of the irrigation
and test your
area.
plants. Like if you have a plant there that's been sitting there for years, like a shrub of some sort, and it's been growing there for years, and you're thinking, well, they say that one's not drought-tolerant. Okay, well, don't give it any water. I never once saw that plant walk over and grab the hose and drag it over. Like they don't do that. It's always some human out there watering. Yeah. So if that plant is or isn't, if you're thinking, well, I might be taking that one out, but let's do a test. Let's try not watering it for a month. If it all goes crispy and dies, well, then just rip it out and replace it with something that's more drought tolerant. Yeah. So that's one way of renovating the garden, is literally by gradually reducing the water around that plant over time. As long as when you water well. Like, don't just spray the tops of the plant. You have to soak it into the ground. And just do that occasionally. Often plants will adapt to that, regardless of the varieties. And that's where, like, even plants like hydrangeas, well, we know, Annabelles are quite drought tolerant. PG hydrangeas are quite drought tolerant. Some of the softer leafed ones are not so much, like the macrophyllus and the, even the serratas are, not super drought tolerant. But
there's a lot of plants that are listed as drought tolerant. I sometimes wonder if it's correct, because Rudbeckia, for instance, is supposed to be really drought tolerant.
It's not very drought tolerant.
It wilts like crazy when it
You know what else is? Sedum autumn joy. I've killed that plant by not watering it.
Wow.
And think about how succulent that plant is, right?
Yes.
So it took a month of a hot summer to kill it, but it killed it dead. And like, because I used to have like.
Did you get enjoyment out of that, Ken? You got a glint in your eye.
It die.
You got a glint in your eye watching you sedum.
I love sedum autumn joy. But that's how I learn. Is I learn by doing, right? Not I read and I study and I do all that. But observation is one of the really good ways to learn.
Distracted driving.
Hey, and I teach my plants to live with less water. So I'm less concerned about what variety it is. I'm more concerned about what stage of establishment it's in.
Right.
So if I got something and it's like, I want to try this new plant, well, I baby it and I make sure it gets established. And then once it's established, then I gradually start withholding water from it to see how far I can go, see if it starts to wilt or not. I'm always surprised, and the first plant that really surprised me like this was hostas. Because hostas, they're so drought tolerant.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. I was like, I had them. I was growing them in containers, and I just had this whole section that didn't get water. And every time I'd go to water them, it was really windy this one year, so they would fall over because the tops were big hostas in these little tiny pots. Well, they just kept falling over, and the sprinklers would go off when they're laying on their sides, so they would get zero water. Then we'd stand them up again, and it's okay, the sprinklers will get them tonight, and then they'd all blow over again, and the water would come on, and it would spray them, but none of it would go in the root ball, and I'd pull them out, and the root ball shrunk an inch smaller than the pot. That's how dry they were, and those things, they didn't wilt. They didn't even get crispy edges or anything. They just stood there.
Because the roots are so succulent.
They're
succulent. Big, fat, thick
and their
roots.
Leaves are succulent.
And the leaves and the
I'm just always surprised. And people, I know they associate hostas with shade because they do in our climate here. They do.
So dry shade would be fine.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah. And again, it's one of these things you teach them. Like I sort of taught them because they were just in a bad spot. But you can teach your plants. Like I said, plants have memory. So you can teach them that, if there's a drought, it's probably going to come back again one day. I learned that today.
Plants have memory.
Yep.
My memory's. I'm going to tell that to Donna. My memory's as good as a tomato plant.
Yeah, it's almost there.
It's almost as good as a tomato plant. Anyway, we've enjoyed this today, folks, and we appreciate your calls. We're going to just do our tips and plants of the week here now coming up, and we're going to say goodbye for the week. But first of all, the tips and plants of the week. My tip of the week is, have you ever tried to water a plant that has been totally dried out, a house plant in particular, and you water it and water it and water it, and then you pop the plant out just to see how you did, and it's still dry, half dry in there? Donna, my wife, has a tip. plug the hole in the bottom of the pot and let the water sit there like you're holding your finger in the dike for maybe 30 seconds, even more than that, and then let it run out, and now you've got your plant is soaked up. It's a great tip. I've been doing it now in the greenhouse because a lot of my succulents, that's the problem with them.
That's the problem. They get too dry.
That's right. Now, my Shigo moment this week is quite interesting.
Not yet. I also have a tip in a plant.
Of course. No, my plant. I didn't do my plant. Quickly, my plant was the little dwarf Aquilegia, the blue.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. I also have a tip in a plant. And my tip of the week is be patient with your plants. Don't cut them out or dig them out or whatever too prematurely. Some plants won't leaf out until you get well into May, so just wait for that, and hopefully they all come back to life and everything is good. It was a tough winter. All right, now my plant of the week was the Abretia family, and Abretias are also known as rock cress, and the purple rock cress is one of my favorites. Rich purple color. You're seeing it in bloom now, and it's a great little low ground cover for rockeries and gardens. Goes really well with tulips because they'll just shoot right out of there. That's my tips and plants. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube.
My tomato memory was just messing me up here, Ken, but I'm at the Shigo quote of the week here. Yep. If you think all chemicals are bad, don't drink water or eat food. There you go.
Yeah, because they're made of chemicals.
That's right. They're not.
Good point.
They're not all chemicals are not bad. Anyway, we'll see you next week with more of The Garden Show.